How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
That is so awesome. Just to give you a little introduction, my name is Omar Rodriguez, a.k.a. DJ Ramo from the Metal Mixtape. We are an FM radio channel out of Ashland, Oregon. We support local bands. We support global bands. We book shows. We do it all because we love metal, and we are so excited to talk to you today. Lauren, how are you?
Oh, great. What's up, Oregon? Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, so where are you from? Where are you at right now?
Right now I'm in Vegas.
Oh, freaking kick-ass. What are you doing in Vegas?
Well, right now I'm just honestly packing and shipping merch, doing all the signed records, and yeah, all the merch is here, so I'm here just doing that.
I love it. I love it. You know
I'm
what?
very excited. I know you wanted me to say like, oh, I'm gambling. Oh, I'm like partying up in the clubs. Nah, I'm just shipping merch, mate.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. And you know what? Those casinos smell like crap anyways, you know?
Yeah.
It smells like a broken faucet and a burnt cigarette, so I don't blame you for not being in the casinos. But it sounds, you know what, Lauren? It sounds like you're an absolute workhorse. I mean, you're doing merch. You're doing all these interviews today, shows coming up and all that. Before we get into the new album, because I know, everybody wants to talk about it, and it's absolutely fantastic. What I want to know, I want to get to know you a little bit, Lauren. So because, a lot of times we listen to our favorite bands, our favorite musicians, but, we never really get to find out, what makes them turn. So for me, the first thing I want to ask you, Lauren, is when was that point in your heart where you really felt that you could give being a musician like a real try? At what point in your life was there a turning point where you're like, you know what, Lauren, I could make a living off of this. I could do this for the rest of my life. When was that moment?
Wow, that's a tough question. When I really started to believe in myself was probably recording Evolution, our second album. That's kind of when I started to find my own, and I started to really write from the heart and really write from my soul. I think the first album, that was my first ever album, and
Wow.
my first tours, my first ever shows. So I was really kind of like a newborn horse, and a lot of a lot of these things. I was stumbling around, just trying to find my way. But then in Evolution, I really felt like, you know what, I think I can actually do this, and I think it just came from learning how to be honest in my writing and really believing what I'm saying and giving something to the people that I think people can connect with.
No, that's absolutely beautiful, and I definitely agree. It's I think when you have that one moment where like you really can write music that could really connect to people, it's that next level. Was there ever like a really big show that maybe tested you as a musician for the first time ever? Like maybe a big crowd, a whole lot of pressure. Was there a first big show for you that really
Yes.
challenged you?
Yes, actually it was my first ever show with Camelot. I toured with Camelot for a couple of years, and I got thrown in the deep end with that. Okay, well, first show I ever did was opening up for Fear Factory with Once Human. That was thrown in the deep end the first time.
Oh, man.
The second time I got thrown in the deep end was a huge show with Camelot, first show ever with them, opening for Iron Maiden and Ghost. So
Wow.
that was a huge. It was crazy, But what's funny is I think I'm more nervous and more shaken up a little bit before a show when it's small, when it's less people, and I can see everybody's eyes. When it's a huge sea of people, you just kind of feel like, I guess it's overwhelming. But it was still an incredible experience. I had a great time. And then 2 years of touring with Camelot after that.
Does playing with big bands and like seeing big artists, does it ever get normal to you, or do you still feel like that excitement, like if you saw Bruce from Dickinson from the other side of the stage?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm a fan too. There's people on my list. Like when I met Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth.
Oh yeah.
Like I was such a fangirl. I couldn't keep it together. he's like the whole reason why I got into metal. Him and Anguilla Gosso
Oh yeah.
from Arch Enemy. So there's a few people on my list where I would just completely fangirl out. And then there's a lot of other people too where I know the names, but I don't really necessarily recognize faces. So I find out afterwards, who you just met? I'm like, oh shit. Sorry, I'm not allowed to swear on here, am I?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm such a fan. I'm a fan. So yes.
That is so badass. So, one of the things I also like asking, especially with somebody with such a badass range like you, like, I was showing everybody at my work this morning your vocals and putting it over the loudspeakers, and everybody's like, she's mean, man. Dude, so, what I want to know is, like, you're telling me how, like, Evolution, the first album, is, like, really testing you, and, like, you got thrown into the sharks immediately with big shows. What did you have a learning curve the first time you went on tour, like where you had to like reflect a little bit? Did you learn any lessons touring?
Touring. The first tour I did, I got sick, and being a newbie, I didn't know exactly the right things to be able to still perform or what to do when I got sick, and I started to lose my voice, and I just kept going and kept pushing myself, and then the last couple of shows I had absolutely no voice, and I had to get up on the stage and tell people, I'm not going to be singing tonight because I can't, so would you guys like to hear an instrumental? And that was, sorry about that,
That's all good.
and that was crazy. And so I started working with a vocal coach, Melissa Cross.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing, and she gave me tips and tricks on what to do when I get sick. And now I haven't missed a show since, so that was definitely something I needed to learn, and I'm glad I learned that early on.
That's amazing. That's cool. It must have been pretty hard having to walk out there to the crowd and let them know you can't sing that night.
Yeah, it was crazy watching my band play, and I was in the pit just watching them play without me. That was insane.
Was everybody pretty understanding when you told them?
Yeah, people were still stoked. Yeah, it was great. People were really understanding, really supportive, and we did go back to that venue a few times since and play. So. Yeah.
Oh man, well that makes me happy. Some fans can be brutal.
Yeah, true.
So I think that's so cool. Man, it seems like you just learned everything so quick, and so being a musician, of course it takes so much of your soul and will and heart to do it all. Like playing all these big shows and being signed and doing all this merch stuff. Was being a musician everything you thought it would be?
Oh gosh, I had no expectations. There's things that you imagine about going on tour and things like, and some of the rumors are true. Yes, like crazy stuff happens on tour. And, but other than that, I honestly went into this with, I don't know if you want to say innocent eyes, but I had no expectations or no conceptual ideas of what it's going to be like. So everything was just brand new all the time, and I was figuring things out as I went along, and I'm still growing, I'm still learning. I still want to be on tour constantly because I feel like that's when I grow the most. So hopefully, with everything opening back up, hopefully that can happen soon.
Yeah, that would be kick-ass. I definitely want everybody to be touring again.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a whole lot of work. Now in like the social media days, back in the day, I couldn't imagine if like Vince Neil had like a Twitter, when he was in his 20s. Do you pay attention to the YouTube comments or Facebook and all that? Because I know that could be so time consuming, but do you ever pay attention to like what people are saying?
I really pay attention on my own platforms, like on Once Humans, Instagram, Facebook, and all my own stuff. I do read the comments on other places as well, but not so much. I used to do it a lot more. Nowadays, I feel like YouTube has sort of filtered out the bad comments because I haven't really been seeing any, and sometimes the bad comments are quite funny, so I'm kind of missing those. But, I think they're gone now. I think YouTube's changed a lot with that, but yeah, I do pay attention. I really enjoy seeing what fans have to say.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know, like you were saying, like, some people can be brutal and funny, but, I feel like some people just go on those platforms just to do that,
Oh, yeah, there's people that go on just to be mean, just because the mean, negative comments get the most attention, and people know that, and it often gets the artist's attention, So I don't engage with them. If they're funny, I laugh. But, some people are just there to be a-holes, so, just ignore them. Ignore it.
Yeah, I agree. So, we'll get into your new album, Scarweaver, which is super brutal. I got to listen to it at least like 3 times. So you're talking about your album Evolution. What is for the people that maybe haven't heard your band or heard you, Lauren? What can new fans expect from this album, and what can returning fans expect?
Gosh,
That's kind of the same question. I apologize.
Yeah, I'll probably get lost in my words here, but apparently we're a groove metal band. The genre changes quite a lot with us. So right now, currently, Scarweaver appears to be a groove metal band.
Okay.
We get compared to Meshuggah, Fear Factory, Arch Enemy, of course, and a little bit of Ginger. There are comparisons. Okay, so on this album, I do a lot more clean singing versus the previous albums, but it's like a raspy sort of style of cleans, which people say has an Alice in Chains influence, and I would say that they're absolutely right, because I absolutely love Layne Staley. But I did not intentionally do that. That just sort of happened. And then when I listened back to it, I was like, wow, that's kind of sounds like Alice in Chains. But I guess the '90s sort of shaped how I write subliminally, or subconsciously. I did not intend that. But the screams are quite low, and there's a lot of screaming all over the album, and a lot of dissonant, crazy riffs with beautiful time signatures and changes. Yeah. It takes you on a journey musically. Max Karen wrote the whole album, actually. This was a piece of his soul. He was able to express himself 100% the way he wanted to, and then I went and I wrote my lyrics and top lines on this. This is different to the previous albums where Logan and I also collaborated musically. Max had written this album when Logan was on tour with Machine Head. He came home and Max was like, hey, here's 10 songs, there you go.
Oh, man.
So that's how this album happened. So it's a little bit different from the previous albums, but, this, I guess, just a piece of who we are, just a
I like
piece of
it.
all of ourselves.
I think there's a lot of versatility. Like, I would say one of my favorite vocal songs is Only in Death. I think, like, you guys were going all over the place, but then you have a song like We Ride that is, like, brutally fast and in your face. Like, I feel like this album's really balanced. When you guys are, like, putting the final touches on the album, when do you know it's ready? Do you have, like, other people come in and listen to it? Do you guys agree as a band? How do you know when, you know what, it's time to release this?
Oh, man. Well, if it was up to me, it's never done. It's never ready. I'm such a perfectionist. It goes against me. I really work against myself. Logan's the opposite. Logan's like, oh, it's great. It's done. It's beautiful. So we have that balance. We don't really show many people outside of the band, like, for approval if it's done or not. We sort of just agree within the band. And, I know that I've done best I could do vocally, and then it's done. That's usually when there's a deadline, because if there was no deadline, I'll never be done. But that's how this went. We had a lot of time with this album because of quarantine and all that, so a lot of time to sit with this one.
What's a lesson the band learned, or maybe something you learned from yourself being in quarantine?
Well, I learned I'm my own worst enemy, for sure, especially when it comes to writing, I learned that I need to sort of get over this perfectionism. But I'm really lucky. I feel really glad that we had this album to focus on during that time, and we were locked into it with a studio. We were very lucky, and we all kind of lived together at the same time, so we were very productive.
I love it. I love it. For somebody out there that's getting inspired by this interview, if you had advice to give them about being in the music industry, that maybe like a harsh reality that you learned, what would it be?
A harsh reality.
If there's any.
I mean, there's no harsh realities if you're doing what you love. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard, but there's so many tools nowadays that I didn't have when I first started out. You know, there's the internet, which is you've got the whole world at your fingertips. You can reach so many people this way, and let's see. I don't know. I could speak vocally if anyone's inspired to scream or wants to start out, just working with a vocal coach and learning how to breathe right and all these little things will definitely help you get on your way. And also, if you're screaming and it hurts, please stop, because it's not supposed to hurt.
Honestly, that is perfect advice right there, Lauren. All right, Lauren. Before we end this interview, please everybody go check out Skyweaver by Once Human that came out February 11th. I'm gonna throw you three fun questions. Lauren, are you ready?
All right.
Okay. If you were in a zombie apocalypse and you only could have one weapon to destroy the zombie horde that isn't the Cure or a nuke, what is it?
Zombie what now? I'm sorry.
Oh no, what weapon would you use to kill the zombies if we had a zombie apocalypse?
Oh God, I don't know. Probably a really loud microphone and a scream.
Oh yeah, you can cause like cosmic like earthquakes. That'd be awesome. All right, Lauren, if you could choose your death, but it had to be by a villain in a horror movie, who would you choose to do it?
Catwoman. That's not really a horror movie, is it? It's not a horror.
No, but she's a villain, then you know it works.
Yeah, it's not horror though. But okay, yeah, let's go with that. Catwoman.
All right, sounds good. If you could sing for any band in any era for one set on stage, who would you sing with?
Oh God, I gotta say Michael Acapella. I love him. Or Wayne Staley. One of those two. Oh, there's too many to list. Please. Let's go Michael Acapella. That was my first one.
Okay, I'm going to do one extra last question. What is one thing you're really good at that your fans wouldn't expect?
Hula hooping.
That's awesome. I would have never known that. Well, Lauren Hart, thank you so much for being on my show, The Metal Mixtape, here on KSKQ in Ashland, Oregon. Is there any final shout-outs you want to give before we let you go?
Just thank you, Oregon, for listening, and I hope you guys like the album, and I really hope to be back touring there soon.
Thank you, Lauren. You are beautiful. Thank you for the awesome interview. Everybody check out Skyweaver by Once Human. You have a beautiful day, Lauren.
You too. Bye.
Bye.